What's up, guys? Welcome to Q&A Mondays. I'm Thad Barnette. We're here at IRE 2023 in Dallas, Texas. I've got Steven from Sheffield Metals, and today we're talking about how to get your custom home builder to use the roof material you want, put the roof you want on your custom home. So Steven, let's jump in. What do you deal with on a daily basis? What do you tell homeowners, when it comes to putting the right roof on their home and getting their custom builder to do that for them?
If I could tell anything to any homeowner that is thinking about doing a custom home that wants a metal roof, the more proactive you can be, the better. We field a lot of phone calls at the local branch here in Texas from people who are halfway through the design phase, even into the production phase of the home. And at that point, it can get more complicated to create change orders. Change orders create fees and delays in the process. So the biggest piece of advice is be proactive. Reach out to a Sheffield branch in your area before the design stage, maybe even before you even get to the point where you're contacting the builder.
Okay.
And in that situation, we can help you figure out what material is best for your area, whether it be aluminum, steel, 24 gauge, 26 gauge, whatever. And then we can also direct you towards contractors in your area that can basically put the roof on for the builder. Try to make the builder's job as easy as possible.
Okay, so when you say proactive, it's so important to be as early in the process thinking about the roof material and getting that information before anything gets set in stone by the builder.
Yeah, 100%. Once the design phase has completed and you're approaching the production phase of the house itself, things get way more complicated when it comes to getting the builder to change what he's already got planned.
Okay.
Most builders are lining up the crews and everything so far in advance just to make sure that they can stay on schedule. The faster we can get the contacts for panel manufacturers and installers into the hands of the builder, the much better off you're going to be, for sure.
So let's say that you get that information to the builder as soon as possible. You've done your research early on. So what's kind of the next step? What should you be talking about with your builder? What are some things to be thinking about during that early design phase?
A lot of it just has to do with educating the builder on the material and the roof that you want. So a lot of builders, they hire design firms. Those design firms have relationships with other manufacturers like Sheffield or others. That relationship dictates what they're speccing on the home or the options. So a lot of the times it's just as simple as educating the builder and the design team that there are other options out there that meet the standards that they need for that house. We can do side-by-side comparisons for the homeowner on product. We can even do a takeoff for him to kind of help the builder determine how much material he'll need as long as we get the specs over to us in time. There's tons of options that Sheffield can do to help the homeowner and help the builder make sure that they get the final product they want.
Let's dive into that a little bit more in detail. When someone else is spec'd on a project that the homeowner maybe isn't interested in, or they want someone else, a different material, how do you get them to change that spec at that point?
So I've never come across a residential roof that Sheffield didn't have standards and testing and engineering that could at least meet or exceed what is spec'd on the home. It's super simple. Reach out to us, let us know if you have the design already with the material and the panel profile on there. We can build you a side-by-side comparison that shows all the details, all the ratings, the paint finish warranty, everything that you would need, class 4 hail rating. And we get that into your hands. You can show the design team like, hey, this is quality product. And that actually helps Sheffield get in with those design teams as well for future projects.
So when you say side-by-side, you mean we're looking at the specs of the originally specified manufacturer or product and the Sheffield version as well, so that you can see exactly how they match up.
Exactly, yeah. We'll have the competitor's profile on one side, ours on the other, with all the specs side by side. We try to be the most transparent manufacturer in the market, so we're not afraid to give you everything we got on a panel profile, especially with our experience on how our stuff stacks up against the competition.
Okay.
We try to make it as simple as possible and as painless as possible.
What other design architectural help can Sheffield give to a builder or homeowner design firm?
I mean, we have Lori Mora within the company. She's our architectural liaison, and I can't tell. She is amazing. She's worked with designers that I've helped get her in contact with. We have homeowners that call in that I can get her, in touch with, and she can really help on the design side. She does a fantastic job, and homeowners typically walk away from talking with her just thoroughly impressed. She loves what she does, and it really shows.
All right, so to get the material you want spec'd on your custom home, we've got be proactive, start early in the process, contact the manufacturer, ask a lot of questions, and figure out how to convey that information to your builder. What else do we need to know about this process?
Man, that is pretty much it. It can be complicated if you're not proactive. If you're not proactive and it gets down to the deadline for the roof, we'll do everything we can to jump through the hoops to try to help you get the roof you want. But the biggest thing is be proactive. When you start the talks with the builder, already have in mind, what you're wanting to go on your roof. I mean, the roof is one of the most important parts of the home. You have your walls and you have your roof to keep the elements out.
Yeah.
So homeowners really taking the time and effort to do some research, contact different manufacturers to get the information you need is very, very crucial. So number one takeaway, proactive.
Yeah, and part of that research when you're looking for a product for your roof, there's a lot of considerations when it comes to choosing your panel, your color, all those different things that make up the system as a whole that you really need to know ahead of time, because it's really easy to be like, oh, copper looks amazing. Let's do copper instead. But that's way more expensive than the steel roof that you were planning on putting on, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that information ahead of time is super important.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure, depending on where the house is located, you're using the correct material. If you're in Central Texas, nowhere near saltwater, there's no reason to use 032 aluminum. But if you're within 1,500 feet of saltwater, you definitely want to be using aluminum. Those are all things that Sheffield can walk you through and help educate you on to take that information to the builder.
The other aspect of choosing the roof that you want for your home is the area that you're going to be putting it in. If you have an HOA, sometimes we run into issues, if you have a custom home in that area that they won't allow metal roofs, maybe they don't understand the metal roofing process, that sometimes it has an industrial feel to some HOAs. How do you fight that? What do you do? How do you approach an HOA?
So the biggest thing I've run into in the past, I used to do presentations for HOAs with specifically to metal roofing. And the most common thing I run into is just they aren't aware of modern day metal roofing. You get into a lot of HOAs and the people at the top making the decisions may think that a metal roof is what their grandmother had on their barn, an old corrugated tin roof. Metal roofing has changed so much. It is a premium tier roof. I mean, it's gonna last longer, look better than shingles. It's super easy to explain that to an HOA. And once you get in there and let them know, almost always the HOA not only will approve it, but will encourage it. I mean, we're talking about increasing values of homes. And I mean, you drive into a neighborhood with a bunch of beautiful standing seams and it's something to look at.
Absolutely.
It is a standing seam roof can be very, very beautiful. For people building new homes, I would say that is the gist of it, Just be proactive and get in touch with us as soon as possible so we can help educate you.
All right, Steven, thanks for the info. Always great talking with you. If you have any questions, comment down below. We'd love to answer them. As always, I'm Thad Barnette, and we'll catch you next time.